It's a very special edition of Private Club Radio. This episode's going to be a little different. It's a recap from the National Club Conference, which was an incredible conference put on in Chicago by the National Club Association. They had some pretty fantastic speakers there, speaking on all sorts of topics from marketing to club governance and from legislative issues to legal concerns. There was a lot going on. It was a jam-packed weekend. I literally did not get a break for 2 days straight. We were shuffling from one great event to another, from the Chicago Club to the Union League Club of Chicago, the Standard Club of Chicago, the Chicago Yacht Club. It was pretty much wall-to-wall activities and action. It was really a great time. Just a fantastic host city, Chicago, and their clubs were. And I really want to give a big thanks to the staff of the NCA, and especially Cindy Vizza, who invited Private Club Radio up to their conference to give you a taste, if you weren't there, of what you missed. And I hope that you consider joining and attending this conference in 2017. It was an amazing time. If you're a club manager or the COO of a private club, this is an event that you must attend. So I hope to see you in 2017. I know I will be there because it was just that good. So on this show, we're going to sort of recap some of the sessions for you. I'm going to give you my highlights. I took copious notes during these sessions, and I'm going to bring on and interview some of the speakers that were there, such as Kevin Vitale, who is the GM and COO of Baltusrol, Frank Vane, who's the president of the McMahon Group, Henry Delosier, partner at Global Golf Advisors, Tom Bennison, senior vice president of business development at Club Corp, and Jim Hankowski, partner at Condon, O'Meara, McGinty, and Donnelly. So now getting back to the National Club Association's National Club Conference, I want to bring on our first guest, who is Kevin Vitale. Kevin is the GM and COO of Baltusrol, and he's also the NCA secretary. Now, one of the main issues that was discussed a lot during the conference was the new overtime rule that the Department of Labor had just announced. Now, if you don't know much about the rule, Brad Steele did a great job laying it out during the conference, but if you weren't there, what the rule basically states is that in order to be exempt from overtime pay, an employee must be making $913 a week. And in terms of an annual salary, that basically breaks out to $47,476. That is now the magic number, and any salaried employees of your club making below that number are now required to receive overtime pay. That, of course, puts a big monkey wrench in the operations of a lot of your private clubs and, of course, your budgets, because a lot of your employees are probably making under that threshold. So that's a huge issue right now, and I talked to Kevin about that, as well as what it's like to put on a major golf championship at your club. Here's the interview. Kevin, welcome.
Thank you, Gabe.
So how are you enjoying the conference so far?
It's been great. I love Chicago. Was really excited to get out here. We've held the conference here before. It's just a great city, and I love the idea of all the city clubs participating on it. So it's been good.
Excellent. We've had a couple sessions to this point in the conference. Any key takeaways that you've had?
Well, I think it's all good news. Clubs are starting to thrive again. They've been able to adapt to their members' values more and be more creative. So I just think that we're on the uptick in the private club industry, and that's a good sign.
Perfect. So you are, like we mentioned, the NCA secretary. What are some of the current advocacy issues that are happening in the industry?
Well, there's a lot going on. As you know, Washington is front and center in everybody's mind. There's election at hand. There's contention of who is going to be occupying the White House. But it's clear over the last several years, executive orders have been something that we've all had to deal with. And that just is not the normal process in what the government and how the government should work.
Right.
And how it's affected clubs. So I don't think we're the target, but we have been affected by some of these executive orders. And clearly the one that just came down on the overtime ruling is something that really private club in the industry is really going to have to spend some time on and figure out on how to take this ruling and make the adjustments on our operations.
So this came from the Department of Labor, and can you tell folks just a little bit about the ruling and how it actually affects clubs?
Sure. The ruling really is an overtime ruling on salary employees. First of all, the guidelines on if you even qualify to be a salary employee. And then it really changes, first of all, the rate from $25,000 to close to $48,000. And also in overtime. And how they get paid. And I think that they, one of the concerns is that they really didn't put enough emphasis on other ways they get paid, particularly if it's commission or it's lessons or things of that nature. The ruling gives a 10% factor. And in our industry, golf professionals, tennis professionals, spa operations, a lot of that's based on usage, and they get a good portion of lesson money and things of that nature.
Sure.
So we're going to have to figure out how to make that work. The other thing that we're concerned about is we're a great avenue to bring people in the business right out of college, give them the experience, the knowledge, and the ability to grow and start a career. That's going to be a different decision now that it's closer to $50,000 on
Sure.
how many opportunities you're going to be able to give people like that.
Mm-hmm.
And also from just a respect level, telling people now that they're going to be an hourly rate, you have to tie in overtime. That hourly dollar amount might be a lot lower than somebody anticipates.
Sure. Are there any other issues in the private club industry that people should be concerned about or should keep their eyes open for?
Well, the WOTUS ruling is something which is really a ruling that has to directly affect your water usage and who governs that water usage
Right.
and controls it.
Mm-hmm.
And that is going to be something that hasn't fully come to a full fruition at this point, but that clearly will be something that will be affecting golf courses in the usage of the water and how you have to regulate that. So that is something that down the road is something that we're really concerned about. And again, through executive order, I just don't think that they've gone through the process that they need of saying, how is this really affecting several industries, including us.
Sure. So can you tell listeners, if they're not familiar with the National Club Association, what are some of the ways that the National Club Association actually works on behalf of private clubs across the country?
Well, again, I think the National Club Association is the association for private clubs that stresses advocacy for clubs. So we have a lobbyist component of National Club Association for that. We're on the Hill, and we really look forward to protecting and having a voice for private clubs, specifically on things that affect how clubs can operate. It also is a component of board members and how boards operate, best practices and principles for governance, and how clubs, best practices on how clubs operate.
Perfect. So how much longer is your term as secretary?
It's funny you mentioned that, Gabe. In 3 days, I become vice chair.
Great.
And to be truthful, I had to take a step back. Baltusrol's hosting the 2016 PGA Championship, and my rotation to chair was actually going to be the same year.
Oh, wow.
And I just couldn't handle the both responsibilities and commitments.
Okay.
So I took a step back, and in 3 days I become vice chair, and then the following year I'll become chairman.
Okay,
so
perfect.
that works a little bit better from a calendar perspective.
Absolutely. So speaking of the PGA Championship, what's involved for managers that aren't aware of having a tournament, much less a major tournament at their club? What's involved in that?
Well, we're fortunate at Baltusrol that this has always been part of our brand. So this will be our 17th major. We will have hosted more majors than any other club in the country. We'll be equal with Oakmont, who's hosting as well this year. So it's part of our brand. As a member coming in, every 12 to 15 years we will be hosting a major. It does get bigger. The scope gets larger. The demand gets greater. But for us, it's every 12 to 15 years you're doing something a little bit different. It's great to work with the PGA. We're excited about it. We love the new golfers that are coming into it. They really are making a change, and the golf world seems to be excited for that.
Right.
We're right in the middle of the construction mode. So they're building the chalets and putting the roadways and the compounds on as we speak. Gabe, that's when it gets real, when they start building things on your golf course.
Right. How much control do you have of that? Are you overseeing that, or they're just taking over?
It's a partnership.
Mm-hmm.
So the floor plan for that has been worked on. They were on property for about 2.5 years before the championship. So that is a partnership. But then once you get this close to it, the infrastructure just starts taking over.
Sure.
So the vendors come in, this is all they do.
Mm-hmm.
And really it's something that at this point all those decisions have been made. And now you just hope it all fits where everything's supposed to be.
Yeah, what are any unique challenges that arise when these things come into town?
Well, I tell you, I was there in 2005 when we did the last one, and there's clearly some changes from 2005. It's bigger.
Mm-hmm.
They need more space. The media just keeps on growing on that. Yep. So there's going to be over 200 affiliates on property. And just to give you a barometer on that, 216, there was 50 in 2005. So it really is something that's worldwide. 56 countries will be televising the championship for that. So it's just getting bigger, more exposure as communications expand and technology expands. It does affect something like a major.
Interesting. Last question then, kind of related to that. As a private club, how do you handle that when you have so much light being shown on a club, yet you have a private membership that probably likes its privacy in some ways?
But it's a little give and take for a year.
Mm-hmm.
When you expose yourself something to a major, you have to understand that your brand is out there a little bit more.
Sure.
And so I think you look at it differently. You're a lot more transparent, but you try to keep it focused in the game of golf, focused on hosting that major, and I think you just change your philosophy for that point in time. You have to. You don't have much of a choice, right. So you might as well make it as positive as you can. And really what it comes down to with all this work, again, they've been on property for 2.5 years. We've been working on the golf course to get it into major chase for over 3 years. Gabe, it comes down, you really want good weather that week.
Sure.
And a great leaderboard.
Right. Well, I guess if it rains, though, you might have an extra day.
Well, rain
on TV, right?
Rain means that they'll hold the greens more,
sure.
And scores will get better. So
right.
You just want nice weather, great leaderboard, and hopefully that will happen.
So from your perspective, is it better to have a low-scoring tournament or a higher-scoring tournament?
Oh, you want the golf course to compete.
Yeah.
So selfishly, you want the golf course to be more difficult and more challenging.
Yeah. You want the USGA to grow that rough?
A little bit
yeah.
On that. And the rough's growing as we speak, so our members have to deal with that this year. But you want it to be competitive, but you certainly want it to be something that delivers something to the golf world where the viewers are really happy on the presentation as well.
Have you, there's a big shift in the private club industry right now with moving to families and children kind of taking the focus, fitness facilities, things like that. Are you able to maintain the golf focus there? And how are you doing that?
Yeah, we're a little bit different in that. We're a golf club. We're not a country club. But I also can tell you, absolutely, our junior programs have exploded. We do have fitness on the property. More kids programs come into it. They're welcomed at the club. Our teaching programs are stronger, and I can tell you, we're producing some phenomenal junior golfers through this, both boys and girls on it. So it's really been a positive.
Excellent. So how do folks find out more about Baltusrol?
Our website, you can go on it. There's a public part of that website, and happy for them to go on it and see what we're all about. And you can see what the PGA is doing. So more than happy to go on the public avenue of the website.
Kevin, thanks so much for joining me, and enjoy the rest of the conference.
Great having you. Thank you.